Well, let's get right to work, Bebsie. We start at 1 p.m. Eastern. Atlanta Falcons, 7-8, 5-3 on the road at Buffalo Bills, 9-6, 4-3 at home. We're at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. This opened at a total of 44. It's now up a half point to 44.5. Now that's a Bet365 opener. And then Buffalo opened at -14, and now Bet365 has moved that to 14.5. When we go over to the cash flow in this spot, let me pull this out. And here we go. Not a lot of action in yet. That's crazy. I'm just going to refresh this and see if I can get... I think there's more action in the... Okay, here we go. Yes, there is more action. Okay, so we have 3,480 tickets in. We know that 56% of the tickets are on Buffalo to cover this huge spread. We don't know the cash yet. And from a total perspective, just 24% of tickets on the under, but 60% of cash on the under. Falcons come in off an underwhelming 2016 home victory over the Lions. Red zone interception by Foye Oluokun with 30 seconds left saved the day for the Falcons. Oluokun also had 14 tackles. He's been the heart and soul of this football team all year long, coming in from the Ivy League. He's a great, great story, and I've become a big fan. Falcons improved to 7-2 in one-possession games, including 4 wins by no more than 4 points. Now, I have them under 7.5 wins at plus 105, slightly over, plus 105, I think it was, plus 110. I'll have to double check that, but I need them to lose out here, and this seems like a pretty nice situation for me here in this game. They earned their first true home win of the year after 5 losses at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They were the designated home team in that 27-20 win in London over the Jets on October 10th. The Lions outgained the Falcons 338-254. The Lions had the ball for 38 minutes and 5 seconds compared to just 21:55 for Atlanta. Now we cashed the under, but we didn't cash the Falcons, and they're just not a good football team. And I don't know why I would take them as this big of a favorite, even with a COVID-ravaged Lions squad. Matt Ryan, 18-24 for 215 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. The running game struggled once again. They combined for 47 yards on 18 carries. And Cordero Patterson, he comes into the game, he's snubbed for the Pro Bowl. Look, that's a mistake by the NFL, but he had it written on his shoes that he didn't care about it, but then why did you write it on your shoes? 1,421 combined yards entering the game. That's 5th in the NFL. But, of course, he had an off game. That shit's in his head. Writing it on his shoes. You could tell this shit was in his head. 7 carries for 14 yards, and he lost 1 yard on his only catch. Kyle Pitts led receivers with 6 catches for 102 yards. Russell Gage had 4 receptions for 39 yards. But that fumble with 2:18 remaining can't happen. And it's hard to trust them. And then they gave the Lions possession at the Atlanta 37. The Falcons couldn't put pressure on Tim Boyle, who was in for Jared Goff, who's still on the COVID list. I do think there was a bit of a capping mistake by me being so confident on the Falcons -6.5. And it looked like the market, believed in that spot. And that's why we saw the 7s come on board. But when we saw Tim Boyle in that one game against the Steelers, he'd just come off the injured reserve. Now he's been practicing for 6 weeks, and he looked better. I mean, he didn't look good, but he looked better. The Falcons came into the game with safety Eric Harris and defensive tackle Marlon Davidson on the COVID list. They've since added defensive tackle Tyler Davison, linebacker Brandon Copeland, linebacker James Vaughters, linebacker Dorian Etheridge, and wide receiver Tajay Sharp. Yes, Chris, my man, we are live. We are live, my man. We are live. Danny Lopez says Clint called the regression on the Bills. They might get on a heater into the playoffs, ride the momentum. Danny, you're absolutely right. Sharpie says Josh Allen rush props to the under. He's won in 5 games this year when they win by 14 or more. Sharpie, I was thinking of that exact situation. And I was saying that with more than just Josh Allen. I know that you've been banking off Josh Allen, but if you're going to bet a quarterback rush prop, you do that in a tight football game or in a game where this team needs, or you do it with like a Cam Newton who has got nothing else. And the only way he can kind of move the chains is by rush yards, but you keep cashing that Josh Allen rushing props over, Sharpie, and it's spectacular work. That is the Atlanta Falcons. I don't want to talk for too long before we get, and that was just a real long time on the Falcons. We'll get into the Buffalo Bills, but let's talk about the Falcons here first. Bebsie, what are your thoughts on them as a dog in this spot? And do you think they could possibly make a run and catch that 7th seed and get into the playoffs?
I think it's a tough spot. It's really muddled around that last wild card spot, the last two wild card spots. And I just don't think the Falcons have what it takes to get in there. I mean, obviously, this is a extremely tough matchup against the Bills, who I believe could go on a bit of a heater going into the playoffs now. But listen, Atlanta just doesn't have the firepower on offense, and they don't have the talent on defense to really compete. And Buffalo is a legitimate contender. Despite only being 9-6, I think they had a statement game against the Patriots the other day. And I just think this is a really, really difficult spot for the Falcons. So I would say your bet is safe, at least for this week.
There's going to be snow showers, and it's going to be freezing cold. Oh, I guess the snow showers go away right at start time at this point. Or at least that's the idea. But it's going to be very cold. It's going down. When it pops off, it'll be 24 Fahrenheit, -4 Celsius. And I see this look on the 44. It's gone up to 44.5. We see public moving on the over, but the big bet's coming in on the under. I want you to talk about the total in this spot, but I'm going to talk about the Bills here quickly. Bills coming off a huge 33-25 victory at New England to keep their hopes of winning the AFC East alive. They didn't turn the ball over or punt all game. So Danny Lopez, you're right. This team is running real nice right now. They hold the tiebreaker over New England and Miami, so they're right in the driver's seat to win their second straight division title. They're the first team to win it at New England in consecutive seasons since the Colts did in 2005 and 2006. Josh Allen was 30 of 47 for 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran 12 times for 64 yards. Isaiah McKenzie comes in off the bench, man. Comes in out of nowhere and is the leading receiver with 11 catches for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. He took the place of Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis, who are both on the reserve COVID-19 list. There are new COVID rules, and we'll go over them during the show. Easier for players to return now, 5 days, and even for the unvaccinated. So we'll talk about that more. Stephon Diggs added 7 catches for 85 yards. They didn't dial up a ton of pressure, but they played well. Just 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits, but they completely shut down Mac Jones, holding him to just 14 of 32 for 145 yards. Micah Hyde, excellent, 2 interceptions. Left guard Ike Bodiger was carted off the field at the 10:05 mark of the second quarter with a ruptured Achilles tendon, and that hurts them. Ike is like a big fan favorite. He's a character. He's just a great guy that people absolutely love in Buffalo. That hurts them. Starting right guard John Feliciano wasn't cleared from the COVID-19 list in time to play. Also on the COVID list, defensive end AJ Epinesa, wide receiver Gabriel Davis, guard Cody Ford, and cornerback Cam Lewis. Bebsie, why is the under not a look here?
I think it's very much in play. We're talking about a dome team going up against a strong Buffalo defense, and also a Buffalo team that kind of hasn't played great in bad weather. So if you're expecting bad weather, I think this is an easy under. But if we're predicting that it's going to stop at game time, I don't know how we know 5 days ahead of time the precise moment at which the bad weather will stop. This is why I don't like talking weather. But if it's going to be shit weather, it's going to be cold. You can expect a low-scoring game, especially from this at times very inept Atlanta offense. And Sammy might be right. The Falcons could be on vacation mode at this point.
So the team total for the Falcons is all the way down to 13.5, which is ridiculous. It's heavily juiced to the over. The fact that they'll get 14 points, that's probably too little. I'd like to just before we move on, I'd really be curious to see what Pinnacle has it at, as Pinnacle is sort of the benchmark for the odds situation. So let's just quickly see. They have the Falcons team total at 14.5. And look at that. So, I mean that's so crucial. The over 14.5 is at plus 104, minus 122 to the under. Is there anything Sharpie says this can be a letdown team for a team who just won their biggest game of the year in the Bills? I agree with that, but I think they'll take care of things. Birdie, great to have you, my man. So I would like to probably move on this under with an eye on that team total. Is there anything you want to make official here, Bebsie?
I think this under is a legit look. I think I'm going to hold off for the time being. But if I'm going to move on something in this game, I think it's going to be the under. And if that 13.5 is available for the team total for the Falcons, I think that's also a very legitimate look to take the over on that, because still only 2 touchdowns. They're capable of that, I think. But let me think about it. This under would be my look.
All right, that is your first game on Sunday. Let's keep rolling.